The treatment was done, so I don't think I can get that again. But honestly, what came next was really tough. They said it was a straightforward protocol decision. When reporters asked why Princess Charlotte, beloved by the public, respected by the late Queen Elizabeth, and third in line for the throne, was suddenly removed from the royal supper guest list, the palace spokesman replied, "There's no warning, no explanation, just left out." Behind the marble walls of Windsor, those familiar with royal politics immediately knew this wasn't about age, manners, or responsibility. It was a message, and it had Camilla's influence all over it. For weeks, preparations had been underway for the grand state banquet, which would bring together diplomats, dignitaries, and select royals to show unity and continuity under King Charles's reign. Charlotte, always composed and mature beyond her years, was said to be excited for her role. Tailors were fitting her dress. Protocol staff were arranging her seat next to her father. It was supposed to be the little princess's coming-of-age moment, until suddenly, it wasn't. The decision hit like a shock. Charlotte's name vanished from the attendance list. Her place was erased. Palace staff were told not to mention her at all. Even her name was removed from briefing papers. When a senior aide quietly asked why, the reply was cold and final. Her Majesty prefers a streamlined event. Her Majesty meaning Camilla. This was more than a snub. It was a deliberate move in the palace's ongoing silent power struggle, a battle fought not with swords or speeches, but with etiquette, guest lists, and royal appearances. This time, the target wasn't Catherine or Prince William, but a child. But Camilla miscalculated. Catherine wouldn't let this pass. Not this time. Not when her child was being used as a pawn in a war she never agreed to join. When Charlotte was cut from the palace table, Catherine made a choice. She wouldn't boycott the supper or throw a tantrum. She would attend and do something the crown didn't expect. She would confront Camilla with grace, strength, and the whole world watching. By the end of the evening, the focus wasn't on Camilla. Catherine came alone, making the crown blink first. Windsor Castle was breathtaking. Red carpets stretched out. Chandeliers sparkled like frozen fireworks. The guest list was a who's who of nobility, diplomats, and media elites. This was more than a dinner. It was a carefully staged event to bolster King Charles's image as a unifying leader in turbulent times. Yet the most awaited guest was someone who never arrived. Princess Charlotte was supposed to be there. Insiders had been whispering for weeks that the king planned to showcase the younger royals, especially Charlotte, whose grace and poise had drawn comparisons to Queen Elizabeth and her grandmother, Princess Diana. At just 9 years old, she carried herself with a maturity that impressed everyone. Only months before, she'd attended a diplomatic banquet with her mother and brother, earning praise for her posture, eye contact, and composure. Many expected this supper to be her next quiet debut, a symbolic moment for the future queen in the making. Everything was set. Her name was on the internal seating charts. Her dress had been ordered. Catherine had even talked with aides about the importance of letting Charlotte understand how the institution operates from the inside. However, 3 days before the event, the unthinkable happened. Charlotte was removed. The official reason, given with forced smiles and tight press briefings, was that she wasn't senior enough in rank and that allowing her would set a difficult precedent. But the double standard was clear. Just a few months earlier, Prince George had attended a similarly formal event. Even younger royal children had appeared at official gatherings throughout Elizabeth's reign. The rules weren't just changing, they were being rewritten. And this was targeting one child. A high-ranking courtier said King Charles did not order the change. The directive came directly from Camilla's office. She was very firm. The courtier explained that Her Majesty wanted the evening to focus on the current reign, not future heirs. She saw it as a diplomatic occasion, not a family gathering, and she made it clear that Charlotte's attendance was unacceptable. Many within the palace didn't buy that explanation. "She's threatened by Charlotte," a former aide told a journalist on condition of anonymity. "You can't say that publicly, but everyone knows it. Charlotte is beloved. She is Diana's spirit reborn. That kind of natural charm can't be taught or controlled. Camilla has spent decades trying to make people forget Diana. Charlotte is a living reminder that she never will. Moreover, this wasn't the first time Queen Camilla reportedly blocked Charlotte from attending key public events. Earlier this year, Camilla's team was accused of pushing to keep the young princess out of a major charity event, claiming she would overshadow others. While that claim was quietly dismissed as rumor, this banquet was the first solid proof that moves were being made to dim Charlotte's spotlight. Catherine got the message loud and clear. This was more than one dinner. It was a warning, a deliberate effort to regain control over who gets attention and favor within the royal family. Behind palace walls, tension was boiling over. Catherine had spent years playing along, but when it came to her daughter, that changed. No matter how many crowns Camilla wore, she had done the unthinkable. She made a child a casualty of palace politics, and Catherine wasn't going to let it slide. Catherine's demeanor reportedly shifted when she found out. The Princess of Wales, usually calm and composed, had spent nearly a decade mastering the royal art of patience, knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, and when to accept insults gracefully. This time was different. This time, it wasn't about her. It was about her daughter. According to palace insiders, the news came from a top aide just after a final rehearsal. The message was clear. Princess Charlotte would no longer be attending the banquet. This new protocol update came directly from Queen Camilla's private office. There was no discussion, no warning, just a refusal wrapped in politeness. Catherine didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. Yet some who witnessed the event say her silence spoke louder than any outburst. She set the papers down, took a deep breath, and with her usual grace and resolve simply said, "This isn't about procedure. It's personal." Within minutes, she called a private meeting with her senior aides. The door was closed and no staff were allowed in, but one close associate said they heard words like spite, jealousy, and Diana clearly spoken inside. She was furious, the insider said, but controlled. Catherine is always strategic. When she's upset, it's the quiet anger that unsettles people. You could feel it in the room. Something had snapped. Later that night, Catherine reportedly called her husband, Prince William, who was overseas on official duty. He was said to be angry, but he convinced her to stay calm to avoid giving Camilla the reaction. Catherine, ever the tactician, agreed, but only after sending a clear message. The next morning, staff noticed something unusual. Charlotte's formal dress hadn't been returned to the wardrobe. It was still hanging in her room, pressed and ready. Catherine had made no moves to cancel. In fact, she hadn't told Charlotte anything. She refused to let her daughter feel excluded, one nanny explained. Charlotte believed she was still going. Catherine kept her protected from the politics. That's the kind of mother she is. But Catherine was also a princess who understood what this meant. This wasn't just a 9-year-old being left out. It was about control. Camilla had drawn a line, and now everyone waited to see Catherine's response. Behind closed doors, Catherine made her choice. She wouldn't confront Camilla openly just yet. That would make headlines. Instead, she planned to strike where it mattered most, in public. Camilla wanted to shine that night. Catherine did more than act as a mother in that moment. She moved like a queen in waiting, protecting not just her daughter but the future of the monarchy. To understand why Camilla would target a child, a 9-year-old adored across the Commonwealth, you have to understand the shadow she's lived under for nearly 40 years. A shadow with feathery hair, kind eyes, and the quiet dignity of a woman who didn't need a title to be royal. Diana is that shadow. Camilla Parker Bowles became the royal villain in a public story that still haunts the monarchy after she was revealed as the other woman in Charles and Diana's marriage collapse. She wasn't just disliked, she was hated, booed in public. The press vilified her. Even Queen Elizabeth reportedly kept Camilla at a distance for years, unwilling to accept that Camilla might one day become queen. And yet, here she is, wearing the crown, holding court, giving orders. But power doesn't erase resentment. It hides it. Camilla knows that no matter how many tiaras she wears or charities she supports, she can never replace Diana in the hearts of the people. Even more painfully, she now faces a living reminder of her legacy, Princess Charlotte. The resemblance is hard to miss. Charlotte's eyes, her posture. She carries herself with a mix of confidence and kindness. She's a Windsor by birth, but a Spencer at heart. Every time the press praises her maturity or composure, it's a quiet reminder of Diana. Camilla can't control this. Inside the palace, rumors have long circulated that Camilla thinks Charlotte gets too much attention. She urged Charles's aides to ease off the attention on the young princess, especially after Charlotte's striking popularity during the late Queen's funeral. Photos of her solemn expression beside her mother, dressed in black, went viral, outshining even the senior royals. According to palace sources, this might have been the moment Camilla's patience ran out. She had struggled for years to gain acceptance, and just when she began to feel secure, along came this child who captivated the public much like Diana once did, one insider said. It may not seem fair, but in Camilla's world, it's deeply personal. Charlotte's exclusion from the luncheon was driven by a desire to reclaim the spotlight, not by rank or protocol. It was a power play disguised as manners, a message about who now calls the shots. But Camilla made a critical mistake. She forgot what the public sees when they look at Charlotte. Not just a royal child, but a symbol of Diana's enduring spirit and a future monarchy that feels more genuine and beloved than anything the current reign has produced. Camilla may wear the crown, but she's still chased by a ghost. That ghost now walks in small shoes, with her mother watching closely. This time, she's haunted by more than memories of Diana. It's her legacy alive and present. This time, with a front-row seat at the royal table, one Camilla tried to deny her. Camilla was supposed to shine that evening at the dinner. Everything was perfectly staged. Polished silverware, crystal glasses gleaming, and a press corps ready to capture her every graceful move alongside King Charles. This was her moment, a statement of stability, her carefully crafted image of control. But no one expected the soft click of heels entering the hall. Catherine arrived alone. She wasn't on the schedule. Her name wasn't on the final guest list. The palace had deliberately hidden her arrival, probably expecting her to stay away after the insult to her daughter. But witnesses said the atmosphere shifted the moment she walked in. Conversations stopped, heads turned. Even photographers lowered their cameras, stunned by her quiet presence. She wasn't there to smile. Catherine, dressed in a sleek midnight blue gown and wearing a sapphire brooch once owned by Diana, made more than a defiant entrance. She reminded everyone. A reminder of who people believe belongs at the heart of the monarchy. A reminder that formalities can't calm a mother's fury. Most importantly, a warning that Catherine, Princess of Wales, should not be underestimated. She glided into the room, her expression unreadable and her posture impeccably straight. She came alone. She didn't need anyone. She moved as if the crown were already hers, not by title, but by respect. She stopped suddenly, right beside Camilla. What they said to each other wasn't officially recorded, but witnesses described the exchange as brief, purposeful, and powerful. A senior source said Catherine leaned in and quietly said, "You may wear the crown tonight, but my daughter is the future. Don't forget that." Camilla's smile faltered. For the first time that evening, she seemed unsure. Charles tried to break the silence, but even he couldn't hide his discomfort. Though the cameras caught his forced grin, those present knew the reality. He was watching the Queen silenced without a word raised above a whisper. Catherine's actions in that moment were both personal and profound. She didn't bring Charlotte with her. She didn't openly challenge the rules. Her absence said everything. Then, with just one look and a simple remark, she reclaimed the dignity Camilla tried to strip from her daughter. Later, the media would try to frame it as a surprise visit, a sign of reconciliation. But those who were there saw it as what it truly was, a transfer of power, not through scandal or rebellion, but through presence alone. By the time dessert arrived, the talk had shifted from Camilla's speech and Charles's toast. It was about a woman who appeared unexpectedly, held her ground, and made every camera in the room focus on her without saying a word. When Catherine entered, everything shifted. The Queen, who thought she had won the evening, quietly realized she had lost. The dinner ended with polished silver and polite smiles, but behind palace walls the real drama was just beginning, marked by stress, denial, and silent fear. By morning, the royal family had lost control of the headlines. Kate's surprise appearance at the banquet overshadowed Queen Camilla. Princess Charlotte's unexplained absence sparked public outrage. The crown was now divided: Catherine or Camilla. King Charles faced a storm he hadn't expected. In his view, the event had gone well. Camilla had played the gracious host. Foreign dignitaries applauded warmly. But what caught him off guard, and what no one on his team foresaw, was the public's anger over Charlotte's absence and Catherine's calm, commanding presence. It was a PR disaster, and he was in the middle of it. Sources say Charles spent the next morning in back-to-back meetings with communications experts, trying to control what one aide called a family crisis gone viral. At the heart of the issue was a question he couldn't answer without consequences. Who really runs the show now? Camilla or Catherine? Inside, efforts were made to downplay the situation. Press officers released a bland statement saying Charlotte's absence followed long-standing protocol for minors. But the public wasn't buying it. Twitter exploded with side-by-side comparisons of Charlotte and George at past royal events, highlighting the inconsistency. The hashtag #LetCharlotteBeRoyal went viral worldwide. Not only did everyday people take notice, but donors, charity supporters, and even longtime royal associates began voicing concerns, politely but firmly. One leaked letter from a major UK organization read, "The optics of the Queen Consort's treatment of the Princess of Wales and her daughter are damaging. We strongly recommend a change in approach." Charles was backed into a corner. If he defended Camilla, he risked alienating the younger generation, the very group his reign aimed to win back. But if he sided openly with Catherine, he would undermine the woman he worked so hard to legitimize. Privately, he reached out to William hoping to broker peace. But according to sources, the conversation didn't go as planned. William didn't lash out or threaten. His message was clear. "I put my family first, always. Charlotte will not be sidelined to ease anyone's worries." Meanwhile, Camilla stayed silent. Her team canceled a planned event due to scheduling. She was reportedly upset behind closed doors, not just with Catherine, but with Charles too. Some believe she expected him to fight harder to confirm her authority. Instead, she got vague responses and awkward silences. "She felt betrayed," said a former staffer. She believes she earned her place, but then Catherine steps in and everyone forgets who hosted the dinner. That's her nightmare, being invisible again. But the damage was already done. In one night, the carefully crafted image of a united royal front fell apart. And Charles, the man meant to keep it all together, found himself caught between the woman wearing the crown and the woman the public already calls Queen. Two kingdoms, one throne. And at the center of it all was a child. Charlotte never even entered that room. But she changed it forever. She never spoke or appeared, Yet Princess Charlotte altered the course of the evening, disrupted a carefully planned narrative, and exposed a rift the crown desperately tried to hide. It wasn't about getting a seat at dinner. It was about something much deeper: visibility, authority, and legacy. Through Charlotte, the public sees more than a child. They see Diana's passion, Elizabeth's steadiness, and Catherine's quiet strength merging into one determined future. That's what makes her powerful. And for those behind palace doors, power in the next generation is a threat that must be dealt with. But by excluding Charlotte, Camilla not only made a statement, but sparked a symbolic battle, one where absence spoke louder than presence. And one mother's choice to come alone shattered the illusion of unity before the world's eyes. King Charles now leads a nation divided, not by rebellion, but by loyalty. The people have made their choice, and it's not with the current queen. Charlotte may be young, but her name is already written into the monarchy's next chapter, not as a passive heir, but as the child who reminded a centuries-old institution that no one, not even a queen, can erase what the people have decided to hold dear. And once again, love has found its crown, not on Camilla's head, but in Charlotte's quiet, dignified smile. The royal balance has shifted, and the youngest Windsor has tipped the scales.